This is the Lenovo Legion Go S with a Z1E CPU, 32 gigs of RAM, an 8-inch display, and SteamOS pre-installed. Now, this released at a time where the Z1E handhelds all came out and they were matured, and some manufacturers had multiple handhelds with the same CPU. Take Asus, for example, with the ROG Ally and then the ROG Ally X. And from the Ally to the Ally X, there were a number of different improvements and changes, like the micro SD card actually working, the SD card slot, a bigger battery, 80 watt hours, and overall just better ergonomics, but still not great ergonomics. And we're now at a point where the Z2E stuff is imminent. October, November, we're going to start getting the ROG Ally Xbox edition, and then even the new Legion Go S2 has a beautiful, I believe, it looks like it's going to be anyway, an 8.8-inch OLED display. I mean, it should rock, and by all accounts, the people who already have it, it does rock. And instead, we got this handheld, which is very good, and I like it a lot. It's super awesome. However, it could have been something where Lenovo just said, hey, you want to spend $1,000 plus on a Z2E? Here's an option for you. And we know there's competition. Go enjoy your 10%, 15% performance boost at modest to upper wattages, like 17 to 20 watts. Or for well under $1,000, you can enjoy the absolute best Z1E based handheld, because they're coming out just a few months apart. And this, by all means, is going to be available until there's a Z2E edition of the S, which I'm speculating on. I don't know if that will ever happen. They didn't quite do that. There are a couple of things that are holding this handheld back from claiming that the best Z1E handheld crown, but by no means is this a bad device. This is a very good device. It's just that with all the competition and the window opening now for Z2E, this just leaves a couple things to be desired. So I'm going to make it quick and tell you exactly what those things are. If you want more detail, if you want to see performance and that type of analysis, take a look at my other videos on this handheld. Okay, number one, this should have had a bigger battery. 75, 80 watt hours, just so you don't have that stress of battery life. Now, this is Twilight Monk. It's a little more demanding of a Metroidvania game, but by no means it's not Ghost of Tsushima or God of War or something. I've got to play it in balanced mode. Now, you can make some changes, like you can adjust the frame rate. That's going to give you some better battery performance. And you can actually throttle the TDP if you want to, or the TGP as well. There are a lot of things that you can do, no question. But I'm getting about 2 hours of battery life playing what I consider to be a low demand game. Relative to like the Dead Spaces of the world, this isn't that demanding. And that to me is not enough. I feel stressed at home, even at home, I should say. I feel stressed playing this handheld because I feel like, oh gosh, it's been half an hour, 45 minutes, I have to go charge it. Now, I'm not, just so you know, I'm not the kind of person who plays for more than 30 or 45 minutes at a time. I get restless. As much as I'm into a game, I'll stop and I'll go do something else. I'll take a break, or my kids need me, right? Like something else comes up in life. I got to get to a meeting or something. So I don't even need to play for more than, say, an hour at a time. But the fact that I can't just set it down, that I have to come over to my desk, I have to get my charging cable and plug it in. I know it's not that big of a deal, but still, it's like that stresses on me like, oh crap, I didn't plug it in. Now it's been 6 hours since I set it down. Oh, okay, I've got 40% left. Well, that's enough for just under an hour. I'm pretty much screwed. I got to go plug it in, and maybe I shouldn't play it right now. That type of battery anxiety could have been avoided with the larger battery. And this device it's got a big footprint. It's not heavy. And with the larger battery, which I imagine adds more weight, they probably could have done it in such a way that it didn't feel like a burden to have a larger battery or heavier battery in here. But I'm not an engineer. I'm just telling you what I think as a user, someone who's been reviewing crap for over 10 years. I shouldn't say crap. Very cool things for over 10 years. I feel like a better battery would have completely changed the landscape of this device. Okay, the other thing is the display. It's way too reflective. It's a very nice display, and when you close the blinds and you use it, you don't even think about the reflections. But that's not always the situation I'm in. In fact, I rarely play here in my office where I have blinds. Or sometimes I play on an airplane and maybe the person by the window doesn't want to shut the window blind, right? So you're not always going to have a low light experience where you can appreciate just how good this display is otherwise. It's just this glass coating is too reflective. Now, the ROG Ally X has a glass coating as well, but it's nowhere near as reflective as this, but it's still reflective. And then, of course, there's the etched glass model of the Steam Deck OLED. So when you combine the etching with the OLED, it's just a more comfortable display. Now, this is 8 inches, which I think is perfect. I think an 8-inch screen is ideal. And the Steam Deck's is 7.4, but I actually would rather play on the Steam Deck because of the reflection challenges that this thing has. You may have seen a video that I posted where I installed a JSOX matte screen protector onto this device. And that was helpful, but it became annoying over time because I just felt like things were muted. And sure enough, once I removed it and now I'm using it without that, I think it's better. It's better like this, but that's my opinion. You might want to try it and just see what you think. Okay, so those are the two things that have really held this back, but there's one more, and that's the price. Now, when I received this device, it was priced at $830 here in the States, but before I received it from Lenovo for review, it launched, I believe, at $800, maybe a little less. I think it was $800. So it went up $30, no big deal, right? You $30. You're going to be spending $800, just pay another $30. I know there are taxes, but I mean, yeah, anyway. Well, now on top of that, now it's increased to $900, right ahead of the launch of the Legion Go 2, which is the 8.8-inch screen with detachable controllers. It's OLED, and that's going to be $1,350. The jump to $900 is a very bitter pill to swallow, particularly with the two things I've already mentioned, the battery and the screen. So I really, really wish Lenovo hadn't done that. However, Lenovo do have a lot of sales, and that extends to their retail partners, at least Best Buy and Amazon. In fact, right now, just after the increase to $900, this is on sale at at Best Buy for $750, or $780 rather. So it's $120 off. That's a pretty good price. It's lower than its initial launch price, which would have been a lot better than what its current price is. And you can also get it open box in excellent condition from Best Buy for $685. $685, now we're having a real conversation because the Steam Deck OLED with less performance, but I think a better display overall, and better ergonomics too, is $650. So now you have an apples to apples price comparison with different chassis, but a huge performance benefit with the with the Legion Go S Steam OS edition with the Z1E. Okay, all of that confusing stuff out of the way, let me give you my final thoughts on the device, just sort of in general. Performance is phenomenal. It's very, very good. Now we've seen what the Z1E can do, and I've posted videos of me playing Dead Space and Ghost of Tsushima and such on this device. You should go watch those if you want to see the actual comparisons. But the basic translation is, and I got this from not just my own testing, but from seeing other reviewers, is that whatever you can play on the Steam Deck OLED model, you can, in its native resolution of 800p, you can play with effectively the same frame rates in 1200p on this device. So you get a bigger display, sharper resolution, and very good performance. So a game like Dead Space, Ghost of Tsushima, you can play with FSR, you can play with the resolutions and the level of detail, and you can get those games to 60 frames per second. In some cases, you might prefer 40, 45. There is VRR capability on this. In other cases, you might want to try to go above 90 or 100 or try to get to 120. So it's very good in that regard. In terms of ergonomics, I still think the Steam Deck is more comfortable. This device is good. There's no question about that. The fact that they added these grips is a huge jump up from the ergonomics of the Legion Go. And I should also add that these hair trigger toggles are very necessary in some games. I played another Metroidvania on this device nearly exclusively. It's called Pronti. And in that device, instead of pressing A or X to do, the face buttons to do your attack, which in a Metroidvania do a lot of combat, it was the trigger. And I had a lot of fatigue holding this up. Like, say I'm laying down and I'm holding it up, playing in bed. I had a lot of fatigue hammering on this trigger. It wasn't until I remembered that there's a hair trigger, which otherwise I just don't use. It wasn't until then that I realized, oh my gosh, if I just do that, the fatigue really diminishes tremendously. So I still had some fatigue, but nowhere near as much. And it was way more comfortable to play the game with the hair trigger enabled. So, and that's something, it's mechanical. So you can just do it whenever you want. You don't need to pause, restart, or anything like that. So where does this sit kind of like in the pantheon of gaming handhelds? Man, there are so many great gaming handhelds out there. Unfortunately, this doesn't take just like the obvious Z1E crown, particularly with the price increase, but it's still awesome. And if you're looking for a native SteamOS device from a trusted, reputable brand, a great manufacturer like Lenovo, where you can just walk into a Best Buy and test it out and then pick one up, this is definitely the one to get. But if you value battery life more than display size, then I would still lean towards the ROG Ally X. Now, the elephant in the room is that the Legion Go 2 has an 8.8-inch OLED display, apparently better controllers in terms of comfort, and that's going to launch here in the next few weeks. But it's extremely expensive at $1,350. I'm hoping I can get that one in for review. You know, all these units, you get them, you have to send them back. So you just have 30, 60 days to review them. And, I try to be courteous and get it done right away. So anyhow, that may not be enough time to test it, considering how when the Z1Es all started to come out, there were updates after updates that like really improved performance at the manufacturer's level. My understanding with the Z2 in the Legion Go 2 is that AMD is going to drive the driver releases rather than Lenovo, in which case you should see some like ubiquitous improvements amongst all the Z2E based handhelds. Regardless, folks, this device needs better battery life for me. I can live with the reflections, and I can live with the size and the comfort. I think that's all good, but overall, I just like to see better battery life in a device like this before I can say run out and it's unequivocally the best device. So, okay, but at that open box price of $685, it's very, very compelling. I like it in that sense. Yeah, it's a very good device. Just know what you're looking for. And I hope that if you have time, you'll go back and watch the other video where I show the performance differences between the Steam Deck the ROG Ally X and this one. The quick short of it is that there was better sustained performance on this handheld than there was on the ROG Ally X. Now, the Ally X that I have, it runs Windows and has 24 gigs of RAM, whereas this has 32 and it runs on a Linux-based Steam OS. I think that's the reason this just has overall better, sustained performance. So, at least in the games that I tested. Okay, I hope you found this helpful. Thanks to Lenovo for sending it over for review. I got to send it back. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.